Hey, this is Lillie Mae, and you're listening to Walking the Floor.
I'm walking the floor over you.
Walking the floor.
I'm walking the floor. Walking the floor over you.
Hola, senors and senoritas. This is Chris Shiflett kicking off another fine episode here today of Walking the Floor. I'm enjoying a day off on this beautiful Friday in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., where we kicked off a tour this week. We opened up a brand new venue here in town called Anthem. Played a couple really, really good rockin' shows, and it's nice to be back out on the road on like just a proper tour. It's not a promo tour, it's not a festival tour, it's just like a good old-fashioned tour, man, where we're just gonna be getting on the road and hitting a bunch of cities and getting in a tour bus and taking the music to the people. Which leads me to what I want to first talk to you about here today, which is those eBay people that stand around out in front of your hotel, or they stand around at the airport, or they stand around out back of the venue. And these folks, they're very aggressive. And I get the distinct impression that they don't really dig me very much, because more often than not, I don't sign their shit. So, let me make it clear. If you're a fan of the band and you come up to me and you want to take a picture, have me sign your thing, I'm totally cool with that. I owe you that because you support me. You know, you buy our tickets and our T-shirts and our CDs and all that stuff, and that's how I put my kids through school, man. So there's a responsibility inherent in that transaction, and I just like doing it. It's cool, you know. But that's not the eBay thing. That's not what I'm talking about today. This is like a funny thing. I don't want to sound too moany and groany, but it's on my mind today just because last night I was leaving, and a bunch of those people, I was leaving the hotel, and a bunch of those folks ran up, and they all have like their stacks of a million things to sign, and I just like got in the van and just went like, no, and one guy was like particularly insulting. I can't even remember what he said, but he was very aggressive, very mean. And I just want to make it clear, I don't owe those folks anything. I just don't want to be part of that transaction. I want to make it clear to all of the eBay people all over the world that you have my permission to sign my name on anything you want and sell it and pretend it's my signature, and I won't tell. But I just don't want to take the time to do it, because if I sign your 10 things that you got a little stack of, then I got to sign this guy's thing, I sign that guy's thing, and then by the time I'm done with all those folks, the first guy, he went and got a new stack. I'm not even kidding. And then he comes around the other side and he's got 10 more things, and then the second guy, he's got 10 more things, and it just goes on forever and ever, and it never ends. And just leave me out of it. I don't want to be part of that transaction. That's it. That's all. I love the fans. You're not the fans. You're commerce. So leave me alone. That's it. Sign my name. Anywho, that's just my little rant for the day. Let's not worry too much about that. More importantly, let's talk about my Spotify Walking the Floor playlist, which now has 1,072 followers. Yes, we're becoming a force to be reckoned with. We just need several 100,000 more people to follow it, and we'll be all good. So make sure you get over to Spotify, find it, Walking the Floor with Chris Shiflett. Search for it. It's in there. It's got all your top country, Americana roots, honky-tonk type hits are in there, so check it out. All right, let's sell some music gear with my good friends over at Zounds.com. You know what you need to know about Zounds.com? We need to talk about their customer service, because every person you talk to at Zounds.com is a real musician. They're not salespeople, and they do not work on commission, so call them up. 866-996-8637, or just go on over to Zounds.com. They're real players. They just want to shred, and they want to help you get the gear you need. Okay, let's get on over to the interview. All right, so at the start of this interview, Lillie Mae told me that she would love to be out on the road 365 days a year. That's how much she loves making music, playing music, touring, and doing the whole thing. And that's to be expected by somebody that grew up literally grew up playing music with her family on stage from a very young age. Went through all sorts of different iterations of her family band. Eventually joined Jack White's backup band, which led to her being signed to Third Man Records. And she tells a funny story about when she was younger, playing with her sisters and her brother, I think, and they had like a bluegrass band, but they would sort of branch out a little bit, and they were like a little too crazy for the bluegrassers, so they actually got kind of kicked out of the bluegrass scene, which I thought was kind of amazing, and also lucky for the rest of us, because maybe had she not been thrown out of bluegrass, we wouldn't get to listen to her cool solo record today. So this is Lillie Mae on Walking the Floor.
Walking the floor over you.
There it is. Yeah. I understand from talking to your TM here that you guys are about to embark on a lengthy journey back home.
We are. Yeah.
How do you like the van touring life?
Well, I'm very familiar with it.
Right.
I'm super comfortable with it. I would love to be out there as 365 the whole time. I would love that so much.
So you guys are in a Sprinter?
We are this run. not usually. No, it's
okay.
just it's a company vehicle. We had some expired tag issues before we left, so we got to borrow that one.
Are you? Did you rent one through Bandigo?
No,
okay.
no. I have a van, and but Third Man's got 2 vans, and they let their artists take them out, and they're like well maintenance and shit. So it's pretty awesome.
Is it like all outfitted for?
It's
touring?
super basic. It's
cool.
Totally not. It's just like super stripped down.
No loft or anything in the back?
Hell no.
How many people do you have?
There are 6 of us.
Okay, so you got full band.
Yep.
Okay.
On this last run, it's been on the last several runs. It has been. Yeah. Not everything, but.
I'm curious. I read that in your bio that you've been playing since you were like 3 years old, or that your parents got you playing at like since you were 3 years old. And so as a parent with 3 young children who I constantly try to encourage to play, they all play a little bit, but like I try to get them, I want to have, that's like my little fantasy is to have a little, Sunday afternoon jam session with my kids. I've had no luck. Well, how did your parents get you to do that?
Well, we had no choice. So our dad's a bass player. He had a family band with his brothers, some of his brothers.
Like a bluegrass band?
Yep.
Is that right?
And he's one of 13. So, and they had a band called the Rishies, and they did really well. Like at that time, like in the circuit they were in.
Band with your siblings was the Rishies.
Well, we've had 1,000 names.
But that was your parents?
It was like my dad's brother's band in the 70s.
Okay.
Was the Rishies.
So you were kind of like, is that like almost like a Carter family thing, like just sort of passing it down through the generations?
Well, my dad, like his brother, then one of his brothers then started a band with his family, and so they like my dad was like also going by the Rishies or whatever, and like so my dad's name is Forrest Carter. So that's where we ended up then being called the Forrest Carter family, because he couldn't use the name because of his brothers or whatever.
Okay.
So like, but we had a million names through the years, and we had, our like main band name was Gypsy.
Right. Sure.
But then all that stuff happened, and then we never we didn't own the name or whatever. Like we ended up not owning our name at the end of everything. So
right, yeah, I wanted to get into that with you at some point, like the whole sort of like what.
First off, I want to thank you very much for making the time today. Appreciate it.
Oh, you have no idea how much I love an early interview. Like it's hard to get people to come and do this early, but this is actually the most convenient time of day for me.
It's my favorite too.
Yeah, so I'm thank you for showing up. When I went, because at first Davis that books this thing for me was like, hey, they want to come by at 10. I was like, great. And then the next email was like, they want to come by at 9:30. I was like, even better. And then when I got the text this morning, like they're already here. You guys are ahead of me. Awesome. Yeah, let's do it.
That's hilarious.
So where'd you grow up?
I was born in Illinois, but my family left when I was 1 and moved to Branson. Then my dad got a gig down there. And then soon after that, we moved into a motorhome and just hit the road. So grew up on the highway and everywhere, but been in Nashville since 2000.
Okay. And did you spend some time in New York as well?
No.
Read something about you. Like,
I mean,
being like playing at some honky tonk.
We played in New York. We played some festivals mainly though. Like we played a Wind Gap, Pennsylvania Bluegrass Festival, and the promoter that Harry Grant, he put on some festivals in like upstate New York too. So we played in. I mean, you know, and now
you
I
basically grew up kind of all over. You were sort of born into
South Texas and like just like, you know, bluegrass. Like we didn't make it out west growing up. That was like, but everywhere else, like we hit everywhere else, and it took us a long time to make it out west. But that was
Why is the West Coast not like on the bluegrass circuit?
Man,
I'm related to a bluegrass band.
Awesome.
Oddly enough, that I've in recent years come to get to know one of them, who's also named Chris Shiflett. But they're called Carl Shiflett.
I know.
You know that
Heck yeah.
So yeah, and
there's some talented.
For years,
some talented
I've been
guys.
wanting to see them. They never come out west. It's not like on whatever that circuit is.
I mean, I remember one time my dad had set, like early on, my dad had set up, we had a run of dates in California, and I can't even remember where. I know that we had like a bunch of dates in California. We finally lined up some stuff out west, and then our motorhome broke down in the whole trip, and it was just too much, and the whole trip went under. And that was like, there was one time we were going to go. So I don't know. Maybe it's just that it's such a long trek. If you don't necessarily, if you know, it's easier to hit up, you know, Iowa, Indiana, whatever, because like they're right there. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. Just financially.
Yeah. Okay.
Question mark.
That makes sense. I've just always wondered because there's such a love and a history, you know, on the West Coast for country music and all things sort of country music related. You know,
heck yeah, I mean,
being one of them.
You know, even just recently, like Tony Rice. I found out Tony Rice was from California. I'm like, really?
Yeah, was he really?
Totally. And I mean, I believe he lives in the mountains, maybe in North Carolina or Virginia or something.
Is he still alive?
He is.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
I occasionally will sit down. I have like a Tony Rice instructional DVD.
Nice.
I try to work my way
that's
through.
one
It's
to
really
watch
hard.
if there's any.
Right, yeah. But the problem with those things, they never slow it down enough.
I agree.
And that guy is cooking.
I agree. I can't. Yeah, I agree. That's what we were talking about on the way over here, practicing and this and that and stuff. And like my brother, when I was watching my brother learn how to play when we were little kids, like he always played to a riff-o-matic, which just slowed everything way down. So it's like you can actually learn that stuff. It's like, but that's the only way you can do it. You can't possibly catch on. Like, it's so hard.
And I don't come in contact with Tony Rice often or ever. So I can't sit there and pick his brain. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm like in a, you know, like I said, there's that scene isn't out here. What on that end? What was your first instrument that you picked up? Because I know you play. I mean, obviously you're known as being mostly a fiddler, I guess, but you're a multi-instrumentalist. And what was your path in? I
started on guitar and piano, and I started playing fiddle when I was 7.
Okay.
But I think I was playing guitar when I was like 4, and I never buckled down on those like I did the fiddle. But
right. Who are your like fiddle inspirations?
Vassar,
like who are your influences?
Vassar Clements. Played a lot of gigs with Tony Rice. He's my hero. He's my biggest hero. But
Vassar Clements, I'm not familiar with Vassar Clements. Who is Vassar Clements?
He played on like so many records. You've definitely, I guarantee you've heard him on a lot of stuff.
Is he one of those like a Nashville session guy or something?
Not really. He was he's super out there. He was like a half jazz, half bluegrass, but he played with all those bluegrass cats and like, but he played in like the, you know, with the Sam Bush crowd and like, you know, like all those like crazy pickers, just like insane instrumentalists, you know, like, but he's on tons of those records. He's just like, he's from Florida, and there were times he was a janitor and stuff, and like, he's just like the most incredible fiddle player. He just has his own unique style that nobody has ever come close to sounding like.
Right. I mean, was that what you were listening to most growing up? Was bluegrass? Was it mostly listening to your parents' band, or were you listening to all like the sort of classic stuff as well?
No, I mean, I didn't grow up hearing their band at all. It was over by the time I was around. Their family band was over, so it was just us.
Sorry. I had the impression that you were sort of grew up touring with them.
No, we were the band. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
By that point.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So, but we were like, we grew up super strict Christian and religious, and my dad was an ordained minister, and like, so we...
That seems at odds with being a touring musician.
It's
like it seems like somebody that was living that way wouldn't necessarily be drawn to the sort of carnival huckster life of being, out on the road.
We played a lot of churches.
Right.
There were gigs, and
Right.
when you're starting out, he had a band of his 5 children. Like, we got gigs at church. That's one of the places that we played a different church every Sunday. Like every week, there were gigs. You play for a love offering and sit through the sermon, sit through the sermon, play beforehand, play afterwards, socialize afterwards, hopefully get a potluck dinner, then play Sunday night maybe. But, yeah, we did. I mean, like doing that, like songs that we did, there were a handful of tunes that we like, because we did songs that weren't gospel songs, but like we would like rewrite the lyrics for them and like do them as gospel songs. Like, there's a Patsy Montana song, Cowboy Sweetheart.
Right.
And like, so we like, well, my dad wanted to showcase my yodeling or whatever, bring in more love offering, So, I like to yodel. I like to yodel a lot. But we like rewrote the words to Cowboy Sweetheart to like, I want to tell the world about Jesus. It's like, I want to be a cowboy sweetheart. So it's like, I want to tell the world about Jesus. It's just like totally rewrote, so it's like we could sing other songs too,
It seems like almost every musician that I interview that is related to country music in any way has a strong gospel influence in their upbringing.
They go hand in hand.
Right.
And I think, it's like, I think like in our case, like my folks were super strict, but I think that a huge percentage of that was probably because like where do you get gigs for a band of 5 young kids, where can you play? We played RV parks and theme parks and churches, it's like, I think a huge part of that probably was just that there was a market for it. Sure. So, my dad was going to have a family band, and so we had,
And when did that turn into Gypsy? Like, when did it become, like moving to Nashville and actually trying to sort of like make it in the biz?
Well, we were, my dad was we were always working towards whatever, and we ended up getting some really good gigs through the years and festival gigs. Like, we ended up getting to a point where we did, like we were on some cool festivals and stuff, and we remained busy always. So
it's like starting to get a buzz kind of thing.
As much as one could probably, back then there were different levels of, as there are anywhere. Right. But bluegrass is such a small market that it's like, we were in it and then we were kicked out of it, in a very short time. So it's like,
what do you mean kicked out of it?
Well, like we got ousted from the bluegrass world because we were always a little too different. So it's like, even though we were, incredibly inspired by the music. Who ousted you? Man, it's crazy. It's like, I'm not saying it's like this now. Right. But, everything is constantly changing and.
Right.
And, it's not, there's a huge hippie, that scene is, huge in hippies and like tons. I'm not saying that bluegrassers are like that now, but it seemed like, it's like maybe if we had been playing festivals in California, we'd have been fine, I'm sure.
Right.
But
see, was there like a purist element to that scene that was like, hold on, you're not doing that Ralph Stanley song the way we want you to?
That's how it is.
Right.
That's how bluegrass is, and that's why it's like it at that time it seemed, it seems to me now very narrow-minded. Right. Of like, we were like, okay, we're playing these gigs and we play these festivals every year, and then all of a sudden one year we aren't allowed to come back anymore. It was like, why? Because my sister started getting older and like experimenting with different clothing. You know what I mean? It was like, it's all just like, okay, whatever. Because we did a Beatles cover.
Right.
You know, because we did All My Lovin'. Like
bluegrass style.
Totally.
Right.
But it was like we just got too out there or whatever, which has been the story of my life. So.
And so
Playing.
that sounds.
Sorry.
It's like kind of funny in a sense that doing a Beatles cover would be too out there. You know?
Isn't it?
That seems like a very like an almost obvious thing to cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. But that and the thing about that is like bluegrass can be. It seems so much sometimes like it's just like if you don't do it this way or if you don't do that song this particular way, like I mean there was one bluegrass festival that my sisters got the whole lobby. It was in a hotel. The whole lobby broke out into applause when we all left. It was like
when you left, like
when we walked out because we were asked to leave.
Was
the
that
thing.
not happy applause? That was like mean.
They were,
applause
yeah,
kind of,
they were,
right, yeah.
they were enthusiastic about our departure.
God, that's horrible to a bunch of young kids.
Well, you know, it was like my sisters were 17 and 18 and 19 or whatever,
right?
And it's like. And they looked hotter than than they did the couple years before. So
hotter
it was like
than they were supposed to.
Right, totally. That was it. It was like, okay, cool. Like they were very respectable girls, and like it was like nobody ever. It's just crazy.
Well, so like,
and it has nothing to do with music at all.
Right, of course, yeah. No, these that kind of Puritanism in whatever scene, and I think it exists everywhere. I mean, it certainly exists in punk rock and whatever, in jazz, blues, whatever. I'm sure there's a version of that for any genre.
For sure.
But was it at that point like a conscious decision to change stylistically?
No, never.
Or did it just sort of
never?
How did that evolution happen? Because I read that you guys moved to Nashville. And we're almost like kind of mentored by Cowboy Jack Clement?
Well, he moved our family to town, and we had met him, had come to Nashville and met him, and he offered the chance for us to work with him and record with him.
For people listening that aren't familiar with who he is, can you talk a little bit about like what the kind of legend that he is in the world of like country music and rockabilly too?
Yeah.
He goes back.
He wrote, probably 25% of the country songs we've ever heard. But he put the horns on Ring of Fire.
Right.
Dun, 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 da, 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 da. That's Cowboy.
Right. Did you watch that documentary on him?
I have it, and I've seen like moments of it at his house actually.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't. I've not seen the whole thing.
I didn't know anything about him except his name before I watched it, and I was like, wow, that guy's a real character.
He was such an awesome guy. He was so cool.
By the time that you guys connected with him, was he? I mean, he was, I'm sure, revered to the end of his life in the world of country music and the country music business. But was he still like an active part of that world?
Oh, absolutely. He ran a publishing company out of his house. He was
and a
writing.
Studio and everything, right?
He had a top of the line studio. He was recording people all the time. He always had Johnny Cash was over there like every other day when we were over there. It was like, oh, just missed Johnny. Johnny just left. Like, right. It was an open door policy. His door was always open.
Did you get to meet some of those legends through your time?
I did. I never met Johnny. There are a bunch of people I met in there that, I have now. It's like, oh my gosh, or even there was one cat I met over there who wrote like one of my favorite songs, and it was like, oh, I met him when I was 8 years old. I had no idea, and then I met him through the years or whatever. It's like, and then going back now, it's like, damn, like. Had no clue, he just always had it. People were always in there writing, and everyone smoked in there. There was just just a cloud of smoke.
The scene in the way that the documentary makes his house look, it just looks like it was just like a nonstop recording session party.
It was incredible. I just read, my friend Cree just sent me an article the other day, and because she knows my history with cowboy and stuff, and she thought I would like it. But it was an article on John Prine. And in the article, they'd asked, what was one of the draws that made you move to Nashville? And he replied, it was Cowboy Jack in Cowboy Jack's house. And I was like,
did he produce John Prine records?
I'm not sure if he did. they obviously knew each other. They probably
Right.
wrote together. Maybe John wrote over there. Or they
Right,
did
right,
some.
right.
I'm not sure. I'm sure
Yeah.
he recorded him something. I'm sure there is stuff out there. I need to look into that actually.
So what was his influence on you and your siblings, musically? Like, did he help you guys become, what Gypsy ultimately became?
No, I mean, Gypsy was our dad left shortly after we had quit working with Cowboy. My dad left when I was 11.
Okay.
So he was out of the picture then. So then it was just us siblings, and my mom was never a part of our band.
Okay.
She was there through the years, but she was, supportive of what people did, but she has nothing to do with music. And
I never saw anything. I did a little research on you, of course, and I didn't see any reference to how things ended with your dad. And I know that obviously parents being involved in their kids, music or acting careers or whatever can end very poorly. I didn't know if that was the
no,
case.
I mean, it just came to. I mean, what really came to a head was just, like my dad had a band of 5 kids that were growing up and were just becoming on different pages, and
Right, right.
and like he wasn't willing to work up new tunes at the time,
Okay.
or like
Right,
whatever.
right,
and there
right.
were just way too many issues.
Sure.
Like, and he's a little, he's a very unique cat.
That is a very diplomatic way of putting that.
But he split, and it was just, I mean, at the time it was the best thing that ever could have happened, because then it was, when it was a very strict household still at that time. So then I'm 10 years younger than my oldest sister. So like
Okay.
they got their first apartment in Nashville, and then my brother and I moved in with them and started playing downtown, started playing at Layla's. So that like, it all happened pretty fast. So like,
Right.
my dad left, and then I was gigging 6 days a week, supporting myself 100%, and part of a family household. Like, it was
So
like,
you're already, even in that early period, you're making a living
since
as a
day
musician.
one.
Really?
I mean, my folks didn't. My dad obviously had a job. It was quite a job to book a band, drive,
Right.
fix the motorhome, and get there on time, and and try to remain some level of sanity.
Right.
I mean,
were
and
you guys like homeschooled or something during
Yes.
all that time? Okay, because
Oh,
it
yeah,
doesn't
we were
sound
all-
like there's any time to go to to
we
high
were
school
all
or whatever.
homeschooled.
Right.
All born at home, homeschooled. My brother Frank was born in a motorhome on the way to a gig. Like,
Really?
it's just like, it's just like,
Yeah.
oh man, we're just
Well, okay, so tell
screwed
me
from day one.
tell me about how you went from that period where you're playing 6 days a week. How does Gypsy wind up getting a major label deal and sort of entering into that?
Well, a friend told a friend to come down and check us out. We were playing at Layla's, and our buddy.
I've never been to Layla's. Is Layla's like?
It's. Have you heard of Roberts?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
directly next door.
So it's one of those Broadway bars. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
sure.
Layla's, the Bluegrass Inn. Layla's Bluegrass Inn.
Okay.
But it's just Layla's now.
Right.
But it's
Is it mostly bluegrass centric?
not at all. There's
Right,
there's
okay.
only one bluegrass band that plays there on Monday nights. There's like, there's a few people there who play fiddle versus like, they don't.
But is
they
it
just,
like people get like a cover tune kind of bar?
that's how it is down there.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Layla's particularly.
Gotta be a good way to cut your teeth and just learn those songs inside.
Man,
and out,
you
right?
know it. You know it. I mean, I know the words and chords and solos and everything to so many songs that, you don't ask to learn. You just hear them so often. But like Layla, she's a musician. She's an artist herself, and she writes songs and everything. So she was
Okay.
always,
So there's actually is a person named Layla that runs
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Layla's. Okay.
yeah. And she's always encouraged people who play in her bar to do
Right.
their own thing and do originals, because she'll come down and listen or sit in or whatever, and she wants you
sure.
to do what you do.
Oh, cool.
Because she is a real believer in music, and she could sell her bar right now for whatever she wanted.
And were you writing
but
songs back then?
Basically writing a lot since I was like 14.
Okay.
I kind of buckled down then. I think I've
Right.
always tried to form things, or
Right.
I didn't really know I was writing, but I think it's always kind of been around.
Chord
But
changes and melodies and stuff.
Totally.
Right. And do you write with your siblings?
Not often. My sister Scarlett, she helps me out sometimes with melodies and stuff, or with
Are they
structures.
all writers too, though? I guess was what I was getting.
Yep.
At. I didn't know if that was an influence on you.
They are. No, we didn't. I think we didn't have like when we were doing the gypsy thing. Like we recorded a lot of other people's songs, and like everybody was writing, but like my sisters never like they. I personally believe that they're very gifted, and like but they just don't really. My sister Scarlett has interest in it, and she'll get together with people and stuff. But or my it's like my brother Frank. He was writing incredible songs when he was 11 years old, and and it's like it's like I think.
Is that the brother that plays guitar with you in your band?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he flew back this morning.
Okay. Skipping that van ride.
Right. Well, I don't feel for him though. He's got 2 gigs and rehearsal today.
Okay.
I'm like,
well, it's good to have that extra room. I always love it on a van tour when somebody decides to fly one of those long drives. I'm like, great, good. I mean, truth be told, it's usually me that winds up flying. But
right. I'm looking. Well, I'm not to promote smoking or anything, but we don't smoke in the van when Frank's in there because he's like. He's super allergic.
Right. Okay.
So it's like, okay, Frank's out. So, all right, well, hell yeah, I'm going to be smoking on the way home.
Yeah, good. That's a lot of cigarettes between here and Nashville.
Right.
So, what was that experience like for you? You hear, like, I've never had any direct experience in the sort of mainstream country music business side of Nashville, but you kind of hear nothing but kind of horror stories, If people either are like the superstars or they go like, they tried to turn me into something that I didn't want to be, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the myth or whatever of that whole world. So I'm wondering, how was that for you?
Well, that's absolutely what happened. We got, one day we're playing Layla's and we get offered a record deal. The head of Sony comes down and they offered it to us on the spot. And it was like awesome. It took us like almost 2 years to get out of this bad management deal. So like 2 years later, almost we signed with Sony. So like that all, and we were working with them then. We just like,
make it official.
Totally.
Right.
But so like we recorded for years and like we were recording all the time. We were still gigging in town 6 days a week.
Right.
We never did get on any like big tour or anything. Like we got a few opening slots and we had some gigs here and there, but nothing. We didn't get any crazy touring schedule of which we would have hoped to get, just book to get busy. But
isn't the model like you're gonna record, we're gonna put out a single, and if the single goes, then they push the other stuff, and then eventually you put out your full length.
Well, we did. I mean, we had recorded enough material by far to put out numerous projects.
Right.
Or we could have, but we the singles that we had that they did put out on us did really well. Like immediately they were doing really well, and they pulled them. Like we had one. It had just come out, and it was like doing really well, and it was like 32. I think it was 32 on the charts at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then they just pulled it, and it was like,
why?
Because they were, I think, because reason? I mean, no, there was never a reason given to us, but I mean, what it was one of my sisters had a mohawk and a pink mohawk, and like,
but it's not overt. They're not like, you need to change your hair, or
no, I mean they did. It came to that,
and don't do that. And,
it came to that.
Right.
There was a time when we were all to be put in matching blue jean outfits for fuck's sake, like, okay, our instruments were too shiny, or they were too old. They wanted to replace our instruments with new shiny instruments.
Get rid of that old 68 Gibson. You need a Paul Reed Smith, son.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's like, we did, and all that shit just boils down to, it has nothing to do with music whatsoever. So it's like, you know what? We're playing music. We're here playing music. We're not here to become famous. Like, anyone who does that, it's like, screw that shit. Whatever. It's not, we're not trying to just get to some level. It's like, we're just trying to get to a place where we could possibly book enough gigs to like play throughout the year and hopefully draw some people to come out so we could actually make gigs happen, you know?
I mean, was that happening all through that time where you guys just kind of keep moving forward, keep developing a fan base, that sort of thing?
I mean, we gigged every day. We were always gigging wherever, you know, whatever we could get, wherever we could. So it was like,
was there a point in all that where you realized, like, shit, this isn't gonna work. Like this has run its course with this label, and
I mean,
we need to be out of this deal, and this
totally.
is done.
It totally did, and we had and
How
then
long was that period? That
we were with them for like 6 years, I think.
That's a long time.
It was.
Be in that thing of like keep recording.
Well, we recorded and recorded, and they just shelved the shit. That's what they, you know, that's what happened.
Yeah.
It was like, in you know, there was no explanation for anything because everyone was there and willing, 100% put in everything, 100% effort put in towards everything. You know, it wasn't like, oh, so and so's not showing up for whatever. You know, it was like nothing. It was like you got some dedicated people here, and you just
trying to do the hustle.
Yep.
It's a funny thing in the entertainment business I found in you know, at any level. It's like in those kind of moments, people in the industry always frame bad news as though it's good news. Mm-hmm. So, you know, so it's this weird like conflict avoidance thing. Like, all right, good news. Yeah, we're pulling your single from radio so we can, you know, focus on this other thing. It's going to be great, you know, kind of thing. There's never like, you know, it's never direct.
Mm-hmm. Well, it didn't make any sense. Like, it's like, well, you know, so far, you know, we've all got to know each other pretty well. We've been working with each other for a long time now. Like, nobody's like, we were self-sufficient, as in we made our own money. We were still gigging the whole time, paying our bills. It was like, we didn't, like, there was nothing like we weren't like asking for anything crazy, you know? Right. It was like, but I think that, you know, that stuff is just like, you know, it was like we ended up, you know, then like once you do so many things, it was like, okay, we got to a point, you know, we're all really young too, you know, it was like, it got to a point where it was like, okay, we just recorded this shit, you know, like, wow. And it really, it drove a wedge through us, and my brother quit the band, and that was it. Right. You know, and it was like,
so the band ended, you're off the deal, or out of the deal.
You know, we were, you know, going to ask out. Like, you know, we were just like mustering up the courage to ask out of our deal. Right. And, you know, had some other cool things that might have possibly had ended up being in the works, possibly, if but things ended up going the way they did. But somebody came in and took over Sony. So there was like a showcase that was like pretty much like it or leave it. Right. And they watched us, you know, and the guy who took over, he was sitting in the front with his arms crossed, and we got dropped right then, and it was like,
was that like you're awesome. Auditioning for the label again?
Totally.
Basically.
It was like auditioning for the new label person. It was like, dude, we've been here for 6 years. Like, we were so ready to just move on. And like, obviously, you know, it's like, I don't remember exactly how old I was, but however old I was, my older sister was 10 years older, and it was like, people was like, okay, whatever. Like, you know.
So what did you do after that? I mean, did you immediately start, you know, just trying to do your own thing as a solo artist? Or?
I mean, when the band broke up, it was like, I mean, it was devastating for everybody. It was crushing. It was like, okay, well, what the fuck do we do? Where does anyone go? Where do we go? Where do we begin? We have
how did you
no
connect
idea.
with Jack White?
Everything really goes back to Layla's. So just recommended from a friend, Josh Smith or Joshua Headley. Passed my number on to Josh Smith, who's Jack's engineer. Mm-hmm. They had needed a fiddle player for some work, and I just got called in for some session work. So
okay. I thought you connected with him as part of his touring band, but you actually
that came after.
Okay.
I mean, they eventually asked me to be part of the touring project. Yeah.
And then how did that turn into him putting out your record?
Me not being able to shut my mouth and singing backstage all the time and singing everywhere, and he was like, we ought to record something. So he just gave an opportunity.
What's he like as a producer? What's his producer, you know, dynamic?
Well, I mean, it'd be hard to say, because like being in a band with somebody, like being a band, like, I mean, he was obviously the leader, but like we were pretty, you know, like it felt like a band. Right. As in like, yes, he was the leader, but it felt like everyone was like given opportunity to, you know, have a full say in whatever part you're playing. You know, it's
Really?
like,
That's interesting.
it was awesome. He gave everyone a platform to rise on or
Right,
whatever, to
right.
do your thing on. And it just brought the whole thing together. That's why it was so unique and cool, I think. Because
Yeah.
it was like, he had all these unique characters and everybody, you know, working together. And it was just like this really unique and different thing that was like, and I think it was just extra cool because of that.
Right.
But I think that like I have this previous experience of already recording with this person and then touring with them, being in a band with them for a few years.
Yeah.
Or a couple years. So it was like, I was just so super comfortable, and it was just like, he was the only person that was going to make that record.
Right.
So it was just like,
Sure. And did he play on your record as well?
no.
Really? Wow. I wonder how he resists. You know, being a musician.
Well, thanks,
You
I'm
think
like-
he'd just pick up a guitar and just, I'm gonna hold this part down.
Well, I think, you know, all that's like, look, he just, you know, how much he's just put into me, given me, yet, you know, it's like gave me a chance to record with him, play in his band and all that. And now he's giving me a chance to, you know, in sinking God knows whatever into putting into my record, who's
Right.
like, how the fuck does he know I'm going to hold up my end of the bargain? You
Right,
know, like,
sure.
gosh, you know,
Because he just saw you play at Layla's for like the last 10 years or whatever.
you know, he never did actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think he's seen me perform one song, half
well-
of one song at Layla's.
Well, work ethic it does not seem to be something that's in question with you. So I'm sure you're probably like
That's the truth.
a label owner's, you know,
Right.
dream in that
Right.
regard.
Man, I wish more people would be more receptive of that. I'm like, I'll be there all day.
Seriously, I think that's like 98% of the battle in life in general is just
Hell
showing
yeah,
up
it
15
is.
minutes early. Like you guys did today, man. 40 minutes early. That's what I'm talking about.
We wouldn't have if my brother was here still.
Oh, really? Is he the late guy for lobby call?
You know, he's just real busy. He's
Right.
busy, and he's always down to the very last minute. I'm saying he's really busy. I'm like, he's always really busy.
Right. Well, so what's Jack White like as a label boss? Not a producer now, but a label boss. Is he? Because he seems like, and I don't know Jack really. I met him a couple times through the years, but just watching his career from afar, he seems like a guy who has obviously an incredible sense of style and flair, and finding cool niche things to always kind of be doing, and the way that he sort of markets himself. You know, it's just, I'm not even talking about like the music side of things, just like public perception, marketing sort of stuff, which comes into play as a label boss. I mean, is he hands-on with the releases in that same sort of boutique-y,
Totally.
curated, kind of super cool way?
Way more than, I mean, you know, heck, I've never had my music. Jack's the first person who made my music available on vinyl,
Right.
you know? So it's like, I've never had vinyl before. So like seeing the things that happen with like my vinyl record, it's like, it's not me. I'm not putting any, you know, extra thought into, oh, this is going to come out in this color or this in a few, you know, it's like,
Right,
he is so hands-on with everything. I mean, just about, you know, it's like, I even think about, you know, it's like, I think about sometimes their merchandise, because they have so many options, so many different cool things. And it's like the amount of, you know, it's like he sees everything. He's just an idea machine,
Right.
you know, it's just like,
Right,
so I
right.
think, you know, he really is hands-on with, and especially with his company. It's pretty incredible.
Right.
But it's also incredible to see. It's like, I know Jack from playing with him, you know, it's like, and I enjoyed the heck out of that gig. Like, I love playing with him so much. It's so much fun. Had so much fun. The energy was always incredible. And just playing with people who give you the freedom to do what you do makes it that much better, you know, versus
Right.
like, oh, do this or do that or do that. You know, you're not going to get anything out of that.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to get out of that? You're going to get whatever idea you had in your head, and that's it, you know. But yeah, I forgot I was going somewhere with that, but I forgot.
That's
It's
all good.
supposed to be.
No, it's good to hear. That's inspiring. I had read that you guys recorded a lot more songs. Like you had a surplus of songs.
We
going into
did,
this.
yeah.
You recorded a ton of songs. I mean, are any of those going to see the light of day? Is there like a
Man,
volume 2 coming?
I mean, there could be.
Right.
You know, we definitely recorded enough for there to be a volume 2.
I mean, how many songs do you have backlogged?
For this record, we did 27.
Like, not necessarily just for this record, but like in
Just
in
like
your
how many
catalog.
songs?
Yeah,
Like in
you just have years and years. Of,
I mean, I've never counted.
right.
I haven't counted. I mean,
And with all the
few hundred, I don't know.
everything that goes into you're like promoting and touring and all that stuff. I mean, have you found that eats up a lot of like your sort of creative?
Well, hell yeah,
time?
it does. Of course it does.
Yeah.
But I mean, every single person on the planet is creative, and
Right.
doesn't your job or whatever you choose to donate your time towards, that eats up everything.
I think like a big part of songwriting is just writing it down.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
When
Like,
it comes, when it
everybody
hits
gets
you.
those thoughts, you know,
Totally.
like you just write it down and then finish it.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
That's what I fucking say. I'm like, just like, it's our obligation.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, but like, it's like, whatever. I was blessed to be able to play music. I'm so glad that I have it in me and that it has come natural to me, by choice or not, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I have it. But it's like, when these feelings come, when you start, it's like, okay, what's happening? Okay. And you just start searching for a piece of paper and a pen. It's like, okay, that's obviously, you're not thinking, something's taking over, and it's starting to go, oh, I need to find a pen and write this down. It's like,
Right.
It is our obligation. It's like, I didn't give myself the whatever gift of writing songs, It's like, whatever it is, I was blessed with an outlet, and I'm very thankful for that. And I'm just like, and I try to jot down as much as possible.
Right. But then clearly blessed with work ethic and an ability to see an idea through.
I can thank my upbringing for that. My mom works a double 7 days a week. Right now. She's working right now.
Right.
Like, and she doesn't have shit to show for it. Like, I'm just, just
Thank
come from
goodness
a
for
very
hardworking
hardworking
single
family.
moms.
Yeah, no kidding.
I have one too.
Right.
I think she's the one that instilled that same
It's
thing
like-
in me,
I'm very thankful for it. I'm like, I really am. I mean, or like, it's like in town, it's like, there's like, it's like, there's different sides to all this, because there's the side where it's like, yeah, I've been a sideman before. I've played fiddle and just fiddle, while wanting to be singing or whatever else.
Sure.
Is like, yeah, whatever. You just do what you do. You take gigs, take on, it's like, if you stay busy,
Yeah.
you stay out of trouble. If you stay busy, just take, it's like, I can't, like, one of my problems is like, no, I don't barely ever say no. It's like, if, unless it's not the right thing, but it's like,
Sure.
oh, if I can come and look, I mean, how many, our circle is so small, or like musicians, like nobody has any money in the circle. It's like, oh, so-and-so's making a record. You need some fiddle. You need some harmony. I
Right.
know you don't have any money to pay, because I know
Yeah.
how much you're renting this fucking studio for.
Sure.
It's like, I've always done that, like so much.
I just lodged a mental note who I'm going to ask to play fiddle on my next record.
Right.
At a very low rate.
Right. Right.
I mean, how are you enjoying or dealing with all the attention on you since this record's come out? Because it seems like, there's a buzz on you. I'd see, you're one of those names I see a lot, and you're playing on
That's
Colbert
awesome.
and things like, network TV, and that's a big
Well, I
it's a
can
big
thank
deal.
all the people that I'm working with right now for that.
Right.
So
are you enjoying that? Is that comfortable? Is that
it's, I mean,
nerve-wracking?
well, to be honest, like I've felt some nerves here lately for the first time in my life, because I've always been so incredibly comfortable at just playing. And this time around, it is all my songs, and it's like,
Right.
okay, you know what? It is different. It is a little different.
I liked your Colbert performance, the one.
Thank
there's
you.
the one on it's the one that's on your website or whatever.
Thank
I watched
you.
That. Because you guys started, it was really like an unconventional. Normally it's just boom right into the thing. Like
Right.
You're maybe even starting with the chorus or whatever. Like that's.
Yeah.
I was happy that they let you guys do that kind of long.
Well,
intro thing, and it was unusual but cool. Like as a musician, I was
Thank
like,
you.
God, that's fucking badass.
Thanks.
Good for them.
Thank you. Well, what that was I played guitar on that song. We had recently done Conan, which I was extremely still enthused from the performance,
sure. Yeah.
And it was like, oh damn, we got Colbert, fucking A. Awesome. Okay, well, and it ended up being that they wanted us to do the same song.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, we just did this on television, like being me.
Right.
It's
How
like,
can we
if
make it
anyone
different?
saw that, we should do something different.
Yeah.
So you know, but I play guitar on that song and I don't play fiddle on that song. And I was like, well, I really want to play. I only played guitar on it last time. I got to do something different this time. And I was like, and I want to play fiddle on it. It's like, you know, this may be my last chance to be on television. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I want to, you know, it's like if anyone knows me from before, they know I play fiddle.
Right.
And not just get, you know, so I just thought it was important to do that. So literally, just when we were testing the instruments and the microphone, I was like, I'm a procrastinator. I wait to the last minute always, buckle under pressure and get the job done, you know. So it's like I'd been thinking about this for a couple weeks. Like, I gotta do something, gotta incorporate some sort of intro or some sort of fiddle part or whatever. And then it just came down to actually just right before we did it. It was like, hey guys, I think we need to do, you know, it's like, and thankfully that's what you get when you play with your band for 15 years. Like, you can just go in, you know, 2 minutes beforehand and be like, hey, let's do this. And it worked out.
Right.
It was like awesome. I was so glad it worked out.
You know, I'm a guitar player, so I like anytime I hear somebody do some cool noodling on the guitar, and your brother's obviously a great guitar player, so I thought the whole thing was really cool. He is fantastic. I mean, thank you very much. Now that you've, you know, you got your debut record. I mean, it's not. I know you had the Gypsy record, but it's your solo debut record.
Totally.
Out of the way. I mean, where do you see yourself going from here? What do you want to do from here? I imagine you're probably going to be touring this one for quite a while, but then after that, or do you already have like a vision of your next thing? Man, well, I mean, I'm so down. I spent the evening talking with Tanner, who's on drums, because my brother left his telephone when he flew out this morning, so we ended up driving it to him. So Tanner was still downstairs, and I was like, hey, well, you want to go to the airport with me? So we went, but anyway, so we were talking about. That's a real clear indication that you're touring with your family. No, if I left my phone anywhere, nobody in my band is going to drive it to me right. Ever. Well, he's got a big day today. There you go. He's got a big day. I'm like, Frank he's so scatterbrained. I was like, he's going to need his phone. He has 3 different things going on today, and I know he's going to need freaking GPS to at least one of them probably. Yeah, sure. Like, you know, it's like he didn't even have a vehicle when he got there to get around. So I'm like, you know, it's like, yeah, you got to take care of your brother. Had to, yeah. But I forget what. Oh, well, we were talking about like what you're, you know, where you're headed. Oh, yeah. I'm just, hopefully, the goal is my goal. I'm just doing what I've always done. I'm just playing music. I didn't have a choice. I didn't choose this life. It is my life. It is the life I'm meant to live. Yeah. And I'm going to do everything I can to just keep doing it. And, I'm not, you know, I don't have a certain goal that I'm trying to reach. It would be, you know, the coolest thing in the world to be able to just book some gigs or book some tours and just be able to continue doing so, because that's it. Well, on that end, would you like to play a song now? Well, heck yeah. Absolutely. Let's do this. Just a little love made me feel the way I do now. It let me rise above for a minute somehow. But again, I feel the fall in these old ways So good.
Oh, thank you. I think my timing dropped. Like I was like, oh man, I'm like, wait, sir. I've got nobody to blame on this one. Nobody to blame but myself.
That was the kind of album perfect vocal track that you only get from the life that you've led.
That's really
That was really good. I'll let you get on that long drive to Nashville. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you so much.
All right, that was Lillie Mae doing a special acoustic version of Wash Me Clean from her debut solo record. Check her out at Lillie Mae Music. I know she's got tour dates and videos and all kinds of cool stuff up there. I think she's down in Australia right now and then like going over to London, and then she's going to be touring the U.S. So get out there and buy her tickets and t-shirts and special vinyl releases. Okay, now I said last week that this week I would review my football predictions from a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to do that right here. Okay, Tottenham, Huddersfield. I predicted 2-0 to Tottenham. It was 4-0 to Tottenham. Bournemouth versus Leicester. I predicted 3-1 to Bournemouth. It was actually a 0-0 draw, so I apologize to you Leicester fans. Man United, Crystal Palace. I predicted 4-0 to Man United. It was, in fact, 4-0, so take that. Stoke versus Southampton, I predicted 2-1. It was 2-1 Stoke versus Southampton. Can you believe this? Greatest football predictor of all time. West Brom versus Watford, I predicted a 0-0 draw. It was a 2-2 draw, so okay, close enough. West Ham versus Swansea, I predicted 1-0 West Ham, and it was 1-0 West Ham. Chelsea versus Man City. I got a little carried away with this prediction. I predicted 5-2 for Man City. It was 1-0 for Man City. Okay, so I'm sorry you Chelsea fans that got upset at me, but come on, Man City's been in good form. Okay, Everton versus Burnley. I got this one completely wrong. I predicted 2-0 for Everton. It was 1-0 for Burnley. Newcastle versus Liverpool. I thought it was going to be 3-2 Liverpool, but it was a 1-1 draw. Arsenal, the mighty Arsenal, the cream of the crop. I predicted it was going to be a 4-0 Arsenal win. It was, in fact, a 2-0 Arsenal win, and I actually saw Ben from Royal Blood last weekend, and we had a little giggle about that, okay? So take it easy out there, people. Give me my just due as the greatest football predictor of all time. And where's the BBC with, I was expecting to get offered a job and nobody has contacted me. So I'm waiting for that call. Anywho, that's it for this week. This has been Chris Shiplet on Walking the Floor. Adios, amigos.